Claude Opus 5 is finally here. And once again, as you'd expect, the reactions are all over the place. Some people are saying it's a major upgrade, some people are saying it's brilliant, other people are saying it's frustrating, does not follow instructions properly, stops before finishing, or simply does not feel as good as Fable 5. But there's one thing almost everybody seems to like, which is a price. Because Claude Opus 5 costs half as much as Fable 5. So the obvious question is, if Opus 5 gets close to Fable's 5 performance at half of the price, should you switch? Let's talk about it. Anthropic released Opus 5 as its strongest Opus model so far. The previous model was Opus 4.8, now I have Opus 5. And the company is positioning it as the model you can use every day for serious coding, knowledge work, business workflow, research, and agentic systems. It's now the default model for Claude Max users and the strongest model available in Claude Pro. And the pricing is probably the biggest part of this release. Opus 5 costs $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens. Fable 5 costs $10 per million input tokens and $50 million output tokens. So Opus 5 is exactly half the price on both input and output. And of course, that matters because when you are using these models casually, the difference might not feel significant. But when you are running agents, coding workflows, document processing, or thousands of API calls, that difference can become a serious amount of money. For example, a workflow that would cost $100 on Fable 5 could cost roughly $50 on Opus 5, assuming similar token usage. And if Opus can produce a similar result, that's a very attractive offer because it's just half of the price, right? Anthropic is also claiming strong performance. According to its own internal evaluation, Opus 5 is now state of the art on coding and knowledge work benchmarks. On Cursor Bench, at maximum effort, it comes with half a percentage point of Fable's 5 test results. And on OS World Benchmark, which tests computer use, Anthropic says Opus 5 beats Fable 5 best result at a little over 1/3 of the cost. Those are really strong numbers, but remember, these are benchmark results published by Anthropic themselves. They are useful information, but they do not automatically prove that Opus 5 will be better for your specific workflow. And this is where the community reaction becomes interesting because Anthropic's early access customers are reporting very positive results. Some say Opus 5 is better at debugging, root cause analysis, coding, financial research, business workflow, visual workflow, and verifying sound output. For example, Zapier reported that Opus 5 completed one of its end-to-end business automation tests where previous models failed. Early users praised its judgment, consistency, and ability to catch problems before handing work back to the user. But not everyone is impressed with Opus 5. Another team, for example, tested Opus 5 for a week across coding, writing, knowledge work, and internal agent, and their conclusion was that it was impressive in certain moments, but frustrating to work with. They said it argued with instructions, sometimes stopped before the task was finished, and did not work well with some of the skills and plugins they had already built around earlier models. And another review essentially described it as brilliant but annoying. So we have the same model producing completely opposite results. Some people love it, some people do not. And honestly, that should not surprise us. The reason is that people are testing completely different things. One person may be using it to build a front-end application, another may be using it for long-form writing, and another may be asking it to debug the complicated code base. Another may be running it inside an agent with custom skills, tools, plugins, and instructions that were originally designed for Opus 4.8 or Fable 5. So those are not the same tests. A model may perform extremely well on one type of task and poorly on another. It may also react differently to the prompts, tools, and system you already have in place. And this is something people often miss when a new model comes out. They switch to the new model, but keep everything else exactly the same. They keep the same prompt. They keep the same system instruction, same agent configuration, same tools. Then when the new model behaves differently, they immediately conclude that the model is bad. But sometimes the model is not necessarily worse. It may simply require a different prompt or different operating setup. That does not mean you should rebuild your entire system around every new release, but it does mean model migration is not always a simple drop-in replacement. So if, for example, you want to use Opus 5, you may have to review your prompt. You may have to make some adjustments to kind of accommodate a new model. So the question is, should you switch from Fable 5 to Opus 5? And my honest answer is, do not decide that based only on benchmarks, pricing, or what somebody posted online. Test your actual workflow. take, for example, 50 real tasks from your workflow, not demo prompt, but real tasks that your business or team actually performs, and run the same tasks through Opus 5 and Fable 5, and then compare. Did the model complete the task successfully? How much human correction was required? How long did it take? How many tokens did it use? Did it follow instruction? Did it use the tools correctly? Did it stop too early? Did it create unnecessary work? And most importantly, what was the total cost per successful result? Because price per token is not the same as cost per outcome. There's a price per token, isn't a cost per outcome, because a cheaper model might end up doing more work and spending more tokens to achieve the same outcome. So you got to compare the exact same task and see how much in this case, Opus 5 spent in terms of token compared to Fable 5 to achieve the exactly same outcome. So Opus 5 may cost half as much per token, but if it requires more tries, more corrections, or more employee time, it may not really be cheaper. On the other hand, if it produces a similar result with similar reliability, then paying twice as much for Fable 5 may be difficult to justify. This is where model routing becomes useful. You do not necessarily need to choose only one model. For many businesses, Opus 5 may become the default model for everyday coding, research analysis, and agent workflows. Then Fable 5 can become the escalation model. Use Fable when the task is unusually difficult, long-running, highly autonomous, or valuable enough to justify the additional cost. Anthropic itself is making a similar distinction: Opus 5 for everyday use and Fable 5 for the most ambitious, days-long autonomous projects. And this is the architecture lesson. Do not build your entire AI system around model loyalty. Build it so models can be tested, compared, routed, and replaced. Track quality, track cost, track failures, track human correction, and keep a fallback option available. So if one model fails, you have another model to take over and continue the workflow. Because the best model today may not be the best model next month, right? So my early take is this. Opus 5 looks like a very strong value proposition. The pricing is excellent. I love it compared with Fable 5, and Anthropic's performance numbers are impressive. But again, the mixed reactions are also real, and they are a reminder that model performance depends heavily on the task, the prompt, the tools, and the surrounding architecture. And so I would say do not switch because everyone else is switching, and do not stay with Fable 5 simply because it's still considered a more powerful model. Run your own test, measure the actual results, then choose the model that gives you the best combination of quality, reliability, speed, and total cost. Because the goal is not to use the newest model, the goal is to produce better business outcomes, right? And with that, I end this video. And guys, this is what we talk about here on the AI Operations Journal. It's all about architecture and real business implementation. No hype, just honest conversation, honest thoughts, just practical conversation about how AI actually fits inside real business workflow. And if this was helpful, make sure you subscribe and you like it. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching this video.